Peter Orlean, tribute speech. You may know the man who had 3,000 hits, was a 15-time All-Star and owner of 12 Gold Gloves. But do you know about his life away from the game, that he was one of the best to ever play? Roberto Clemente was a great and charitable man who loved to help others in their hour of need. "I want to be remembered as the ball player who gave everything he had to give," said Roberto Clemente. He deserved tribute for more than his playing baseball, but for his commitment to people in need. He was always involved in charity work in his home country of Puerto Rico, but also in many other Latin American countries. When what he was giving wasn't received because of a government or because of a tragic accident, he would personally fly on a plane to ensure the safety of the goods that were being given. He gave everything he had to charity. Some of it went to countries that he had no relationship with at all. He just wanted to help because he knew what it was like to grow up poor. He was such a great person, by the way. He helped others. But did I mention he could play a little baseball, too? He played for the Pittsburgh Pirates for 18 seasons and had a batting average of over 300. He had 3,000 hits and 1,300 RBIs, a lifetime slugging percentage of .475 and 1,400 runs scored. He won 2 World Series titles, 1 regular season MVP, and 1 World Series MVP award. He was one of the greatest players to ever live, said Alfredo R. Barrios. He represented a country and a lifestyle that most people struggle with living today. He was the greatest Puerto Rican baseball player of all time and represented all the people that live in poverty. He worked odd jobs as a kid to make any money he could for his parents, and he played on a sandlot field until the age of 18 when he was finally drafted. It was a daily struggle for him and his family, and Roberto did the best he could to make any kind of money. He was always involved in charity work in Puerto Rico and other Latin American countries, and he would send aid regularly to these people because he knew where they came from and what life was like there, so he had a perspective and a personal obligation to help them. In 1961, he traveled to Puerto Rico where his charity work helped over 18,000 total people. He was so generous that while still playing in Major League Baseball, they created the Roberto Clemente Award for the player who displays the greatest sportsmanship, involvement in the community, and individual contribution. He was such a great man, on and off the field and in other countries, that he not only had his own award, but is retired in the Major League Baseball Hall of Fame. And he went out of his way to make sure that his works were followed through with. When what he was giving wasn't being received, he would fly with the aid to its destination to assure it's delivered to the correct people. When Managua, the capital city of Nicaragua, had a massive earthquake, he sent immediate relief flights to help the people living there. But the Somalian government took these before the people had a chance to get their hands on them. When Roberto had heard this, he was infuriated and sent a 4th relief flight on which he would fly to ensure the safety of the goods that were being given. On December 31st, 1972, Clemente decided to accompany one of these flights to Nicaragua to make sure that the aid was distributed to the people who needed it the most. In Roberto's wanting to help, he decided to overfill the plane by 4,200 pounds to make up for the previously stolen goods. Sadly, the plane crashed just after takeoff off the coast of Puerto Rico, immediately after takeoff. Later, a memorial service was held to commemorate him, and his only teammate that wasn't there was his best friend, Manny Sanguillen, who was out near the crash site, diving in the water, searching for any remains of his best friend. Sadly, no part of Roberto was ever found except an empty suitcase and some small parts of the plane. The irony in all this is that the man who uplifted so many people would lose his own life in such a tragic fall. Roberto was a great and charitable man who loved to help others and cared for others way more than he cared for himself. He gave everything he had to charity, and he went above and beyond to help people in distress and to ensure the safety of the goods that were being delivered. He died in a plane crash on the way to help others after a massive earthquake had destroyed their homes. Roberto Clemente was so much more than the man with 3,000 hits, who was a 15-time All-Star and owner of 12 Gold Gloves. If anyone deserves praise, it's him.